ninth we had repeated chapters so that you all get the benefit. But in the 10th we will not be able to do that. In that case, we will not be able to finish the portion on time. We aim to finish the portion, 10th standard, all of it. Try to finish the portion latest by the end of September. Much ahead of your school. So this is the first thing that I want to tell you. Second, the pace here and the pace in your school will be different. Here, we will be doing the chapters a bit faster than what your school would go. So try to be attentive and interactive. Try to learn in the classroom itself. Then CBSE portion is very, very easy. But little bit of sincerity and right from the beginning, that regularity is very important. And easily a child can manage this. It's not difficult at all. So, right from the beginning, whenever I teach or any other teacher is in the class, physics, chemistry, biology, maths, etc., etc., try to be attentive and interact so that you are able to learn in the classroom itself. Okay. And next is, you will have to keep us updated about what portion your school exams as they conduct exams, what are the chapters that they are asking you to prepare. So well ahead of time you should be aware about that. Your school exam starts from next week, and this week you cannot tell us that no ma'am, one more chapter we are left with and we'll have to do that one more chapter. Then it is difficult, because our availability and your batch, the entire batch is available for that lecture. So many things have to be planned. It is unlike school. Okay, so 3-4 schools will be coming together. Many more children are going to come here. So 3-4 schools coming together, their availability, our availability, everything has to match. Then only one lecture can be scheduled. It's unlike school where all the children will definitely go at 8 o'clock and the teacher will come. It's not like that. So be aware about what portion. Next exam, the first exam, as of now, let me tell you, the first exam that you're going to have, probably in the month of July or August, you will definitely have one school exam. So, what is the portion? Ask the teacher tentatively definitely will be telling you. Or if not, you ask what would be the tentative portion. So, if you're aware about the portion, we will definitely try to finish that portion much ahead of your exam. Okay, because different schools will have different portion, not necessarily the same chapter every school will start. So that is one issue that would arise. So try solving that right from the beginning as per what I told you right now. Now, since your school has not started with the portion, but if you pick up your textbook, what are the chapters that we are going to go through? The chapters for biology are, look into the chapters. Number one is life processes. The first chapter is life processes. Life processes is a detailed chapter. 4 major sections in this chapter. 4 major sections which you know very well, understand. After life processes, there is control and coordination. You may take those chapters. Control and coordination. After control and coordination, there is how do organisms reproduce, and after that, our environment. Heredity and our environment. That is physics. That is physics. So now, these are the chapters that we are going to do. Major, in the first exam, definitely you will be having half of life processes for sure. In some schools, half of life processes and our environment they would take. In some schools, they would start with heredity and heredity and our environment that they would take. So I am starting with the first chapter now, because majority of the schools will always start with life processes. So I'm starting with life processes now. But if there is anything that no, my school did not start with life process, my school has started with heredity, then keep me informed so that I finish with life processes and immediately I go to that chapter. Okay. So we are going to start with the first chapter, that is life processes. Now, when I say life process means a sequence of events that you already know. So when I'm talking about life processes, when I say life processes, process means definitely a sequence of events I'm talking about. What are those life processes? Let us try understanding. What are those life processes? All of you should have a notebook. From time to time, we'll have to solve questions of the volume, almost about 70% questions of the volume I will try to touch. The rest is your homework. You will have to go through and you will have to ask questions. Okay? So volume and the textbook and the notebook, everyone should have. 9th standard children coming to 10th standard, especially for you. No excuse, I forgot nothing. Every day to class, the notebook, the volume, the textbook has to be ready. Okay? Life processes, as I said now, let me just try to define what is the meaning of a process. Process means what? It's a sequence of events that is happening in a particular order, sequence of events. But now we are trying to understand life process, the processes which are necessary for survival of an organism. Then which are the processes necessary for survival of an organism? Respiration, nutrition, then movement, yes. Excretion. Then we talk about nervous coordination. Nervous coordination is also very much important. Circulation, movement of the body fluids, very, very important, a process. Reproduction, no, not a very important process for survival. Organism not capable of reproducing can very well still survive. Is reproduction a life process? No, reproduction is not a life process. What else? I may say that when we are talking about the concept of life process, always remember I just now mentioned processes necessary for survival of an organism. That means nutrition. Without nutrition, survival is never possible. Respiration, never possible. But movement and locomotion, can that be considered as a life process? Actually not. Without movement also the organism can survive, can remain alive. But excretion, no, it is a life process. Toxic substances accumulating in the body and the organism will not be able to survive. Distribution of body fluid, circulation, that we understand, definitely a life process. So which are some life processes and which are the major sections of the chapter that we are going to study? The first is nutrition. The first is nutrition. Next is respiration. Nutrition, respiration. Third is transportation. And fourth is excretion. So just now I have defined some of these terms that mentioned some of these that unless and until we talk about excretion, unless and until an organism undergoes transportation, nutrition, digestion, no, the organism cannot survive. The fifth that also we are going to discuss would be a small concept known as diffusion. Now, this concept diffusion is not actually for complex organisms. This is majorly for single-celled organism. I'm saying diffusion is a life process. Yes, diffusion is a life process, but I may say diffusion is a life process for what type of organisms? Majorly unicellular organisms. Give me two examples. Amoeba, Paramecium, Euglena, Chlamydomonas, all these are unicellular organisms. Now, can you tell me why I say that this process, diffusion, only goes with unicellular organisms? Why diffusion cannot be a satisfactory process for a multicellular organism?
Our body is not with direct contact with the outer environment.
Very good. Our body is made up of so many cells. Think about the cells which are in the deeper parts of our body. Think about the cells which are in the deeper regions of our body, inner lining of stomach and the intestine and the liver and the heart. these cells, are they in contact with the external environment? No. So definitely diffusion cannot be a life supporting process for us. But does diffusion happen in our body? Yes, to some extent. To some extent it happens, but it cannot be considered as a life supporting process for us. But for the amoeba it is. For the paramecium it is. For life supporting process it is. So we will just start with this concept of diffusion. Since a small concept we are talking about, nothing in detail. This later we are going to discuss. Let us talk about diffusion a little bit. What is diffusion? What type of organisms? Why diffusion beneficial? Why not beneficial for us, etc. What is the definition of diffusion? Does anybody know?
Exchange of gases. Higher concentration to low concentration.
Exchange, little bit better.
The fluids.
Right?
Gases transportation.
Diffusion can be actually for all. I'm saying instead of exchange, give me a better word. Transportation, movement. So how would we define this word diffusion? The word diffusion can always be defined like this: movement of molecules of a substance. When I say substance, it covers what? Gases also, liquids also, solids also. All diffusion is applicable for all. Movement of molecules of a substance from its region of higher concentration to its region of lower concentration when the molecules are in contact. So now, when we are talking about the concept of diffusion, what is it? The basic concept to remember: diffusion, molecules are always moving from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Just now I mentioned that this process, now that I understand, this process would be applicable for what type of organisms and how is it beneficial? Diffusion will always be applicable for unicellular organisms. Always for unicellular organisms. Example amoeba, example paramecium, example the chlamydomonas, etc. Now, we would try understanding that yes, we are mentioning that all these organisms undergo the process of diffusion. Diffusion for the process of feeding, diffusion for the process of excretion also, diffusion for the process of respiration also. Majorly all the processes are carried out only by this method. What? Movement from higher concentration to lower concentration of these. Then, now the next question is that what type of processes all these organisms carry out by diffusion? Just now I mentioned nutrition, respiration. All these processes are carried out. What type of processes are carried out by the process, by this concept diffusion? Just now I mentioned in all these single-celled organisms, nutrition or excretion or gaseous exchange, all can be carried out by this method, by this process known as diffusion. But then, how is it beneficial? Why is it beneficial for them and not for us? Why is it beneficial for them and not for us? Because they all have single cells directly in contact with the external environment. Why not beneficial for a complex organism? Complex organisms, so many cells in the body, the cells in the deeper part, not in contact with the external environment. So here you get a question. A question always comes from this part. Why diffusion is not beneficial for a multicellular organism? Why is diffusion not a very beneficial process? It is not a very needed process, a process which is definitely helping the survival of that organism. Why is diffusion? Why does diffusion? Why is diffusion not a process carried out in multicellular organisms? This question comes in various forms. This is one type, that why in multicellular organisms diffusion does not carry out, or why is diffusion not beneficial for a multicellular organism? That also. Why is diffusion not beneficial? Or I do like this. Why is diffusion not beneficial? Why is diffusion not beneficial? A process carried out in multicellular organism. So what are we supposed to write down? Let us write that answer. All of you take this question. That's a question in your textbook. Sometime later it has been asked in the chapter. So I take it now. Let us try answering. Why is diffusion not a very satisfactory process? Multicellular organisms cannot only support on diffusion, they have to support on so many other processes. Answer: multicellular organisms, write down all of it. Multicellular organisms are made up of complex tissues and organs. Made up of complex tissues and organs. Are made up of complex tissues and organs. Full stop. The cells in the deeper parts of the body. The cells in the deeper parts of the body are not in contact with the external environment. Are not in contact with external environment. Hence, exchange of gases, nutrition or excretion. Hence, exchange of gases, nutrition or excretion cannot be carried out. Exchange of gases, nutrition or excretion cannot be carried out by diffusion. Clear? Did you all get the lines? Did you all complete the answer? You missed out something? From where? Help him, give him the answer. Clear, no, this part? So diffusion only this much as of now. We only should know about the definition. You should know the definition. How to define what are some organisms and why not in multicellular organisms. This is a very important process. Now we move on to the concept of nutrition, the first life process that we have to study. We move on with the concept of nutrition. What is nutrition? We are studying life process. So what should nutrition be? Okay, you choose. I give you options, you choose. Nutrition is the carbohydrate proteins, or nutrition is the process of taking in food and digesting, or nutrition is the egg and the milk and the bun and the bread. What is it? Second. So what did I say? Nutrition is the process by which an organism takes in food, digests the food and utilizes the food in the body. That's a process, elaborate process it is. What is nutrition? The entire process of taking in food. And every organism has different method of taking in. No? Every organism has different method of taking in food. Can you tell me 2 examples? Different method of taking in food. Give me examples of any 2 organisms that this organism takes in food this way, this organism takes in food this way. Amoeba engulfs food. Do you know the method? What is that method known as? Endocytosis. And what is the bigger word? Bigger word is what? Same here. Diffusion I have to talk about. What is that bigger word? Endocytosis plus dash is equal to dash. We are talking about only endocytosis. What is the other part? Get studied in the 9th, no? Huh? With cell you have studied, no? Taking in of substances, giving out of substances. What is that? Cell eating, cell vomiting. You have studied that. There was. Acha, cell eating, what is it? Endocytosis. So cell giving out substances, what is that called? Exocytosis. Endocytosis and exocytosis together. Phagocytosis. Phagocytosis. So when we are talking about phagocytosis, it is the complete process. The process by which organisms, single cell organisms, take in food, release out substances. What is that? Phagocytosis. Endocytosis is one part. Since I'm talking about now, I'm only talking about the intake of the food. Amoeba takes in food again by the process of diffusion. So here again, we can talk about endocytosis and a bigger concept of endocytosis, phagocytosis. So these words you'll have to remember, phagocytosis and endocytosis. Now, here I am saying that what is the process, what is the definition of nutrition that you should know? What is the definition? The process by which an organism takes in food, digests and utilizes the food. That is, meaning right from the time we take any type of a food item, you are eating a piece of apple, a slice or a chunk of bread. The process of nutrition is complete only when the digestion of that is over and the chemical substances present in it has entered into your cells. Then nutrition is over. So what is the definition of nutrition? Define nutrition for 1 mark. What should you write? Define nutrition, the process of, what is the definition complete to write? The process of intake, or there's a word in your book, maybe procurement. Let me write that one. The process of procurement of food and its digestion and utilization. Its digestion and utilization by the body cells. This is what is nutrition. What is nutrition? The process by which an organism will take in food, digest the food, and utilize the food. Now, these are 2 major processes. We are talking about digestion, which itself is a very big process to learn. Digestion, a very big process to learn. Utilization, again another section of the chapter. So we are not talking about nutrition, a process by which an organism takes in food. So if I give you examples, we take in food in one method. How? We bite, cut, bite. What about a parrot? Same. What about a parrot? Same. No. The method by which the parrot takes in food is a bit different than what we do, no? What about the fish? Is it same? What about the frog? Is it same? The lizard, is it same? So if you think the procurement method, procurement means feeding, taking in inside the body. Process of procurement of the food is also different in different organisms. Based on what the procurement is, does the food habit differ? We have teeth. So the type of food that we eat and the type of food that the fishes will eat, different. No? The type of food that the parrots would eat, the sparrows would eat, and the type of food that the invertebrates, all different. Wherever we are, what type of mouth parts we have, based on that the food also differs. So procurement. What did I say? What is the meaning of this? Taking in. What is the meaning of procurement? Feeding. Simple word is feeding. The process of taking in of the food. Digestion you understand. Utilization you understand. Utilization you will understand when we enter into the chapter. Now, when we are talking about the modes, before we go to the word modes, let me talk about this also. Since we are talking about nutrition, how will you define this word nutrients? What are nutrients? Carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals. So, what are these? Okay, what are these? Carbohydrate and protein and mineral, they all are made up of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen and sulfur, something. So, can I say that they are the chemical components of food? Are they the chemical components of food? So, what will you do? Yes? Energy source is only the fats and the carbohydrate. Proteins are not the energy source. So what is common that I have to write? What are nutrients? What is the definition you will write? What is nutrition? You know now. It's a process of by which an organism takes in, digests, utilizes. Then what are nutrients then? The chemical components present in the food. The chemical components present in the food. So if I talk about the chemical components, nutrients are the chemical components present in the food. So if I talk about the chemical components present in the food, what are the chemical components? Just now she mentioned carbohydrate, proteins, fats, minerals, vitamins, water, roughage, all these also. So if I talk about the chemical component here, roughage I will write. Chemical component is majorly roughage. Major nutrient here, carbohydrate. Major nutrient, carbohydrate. I talk about the major nutrient here, proteins. So likewise, you will have to remember what are nutrients. I talk about the nutrients here, fats, butter, ghee, cheese, etc. I talk about the chemical nutrients here. Say suppose I talk about the type of nutrients I want to understand. What is here? Mineral, vitamins, vegetables, crops, all. So I would write minerals here and vitamins here. So when we are talking about nutrients and nutrition, the term should be clear. Nutrients and nutrition, then what is that one word I can give for this? What is that one word I can give for all of these? Foodstuffs. Differentiate between nutrients and foodstuffs. A simple question you get for 1 mark. Differentiate foodstuffs and nutrients. What is it? Foodstuffs means the food items, simple. That we eat. That we eat. Chemical components in the food, stuff, nutrients. The process of taking in of that foodstuff and digesting and etc. Nutrition. Clear now? So what is nutrition? What are nutrients? And some variety of examples. I gave you this few. Can you tell me another 2 examples of roughage if you have understood this now? Cabbage. Most of the fruits rich in roughage. Roughage means the fibrous food. Can I give you 1 or 2 more examples for roughage?
Green vegetables.
Green vegetables. Maybe the leafy vegetables. All these leafy green vegetables, all rich in roughage. What next I gave you? Carbohydrate. Give me 2 more. Carbohydrate like potatoes. Potato and rice. What next I gave you? Proteins. Are you aware? What are the other? Milk and dairy products. Dairy products,
Quality.
beans, different type of nuts, all. Fats, what else? Cheese, butter, cheese, oil. And mineral vitamin, you have got plenty of examples, all the different type of crops, etc. Now, since we are talking about nutrition, now we move on to the main part of the chapter. What are the different modes? What are the different modes? The different modes of nutrition. What are the different modes of nutrition? The first is the autotrophic. What are these? We are talking about methods, modes. Any confusion? Autotrophic, these are modes of nutrition that we are not talking about. Modes meaning the methods. Modes of nutrition, the first one is autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition, let us compare autotrophic and heterotrophic. All of you must be knowing this. This is nothing new for you. Autotrophic and heterotrophic, all of you know. Yes or no? Autotrophic and heterotrophic. Let us try comparing this. So now, when we are talking about autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition, the two major mode of nutrition possible, how would we differentiate? What is the definition we write and what type of examples we write? Number one. Autotrophic nutrition, if I am writing, then what is the first point always to write is?
Organisms that prepare their own food.
Organisms that can make their own food. Organisms that can synthesize their own food. One or two examples, organisms that can synthesize their own food. Bacteria, some few bacteria. So now, what is the difference when we are talking about autotrophic nutrition? Yes, autotrophic nutrition means organisms. Autotrophic nutrition we are talking about. First of all, if I have to define the process, then I would say like this. Remember the form in which you should write the mode in which, because first of all I want to define the process. The mode in which the organisms can prepare or synthesize. Organisms can synthesize their own food. Their own food in the form of glucose majorly. The moment I talk about autotrophic nutrition, the first thing that always should come to your mind is, yes, this organism can make food from whatever in the surrounding and it is not dependent on any other organism for food. So I'm saying the mode in which, remember these words, the mode in which, I'm defining autotrophic mode. The method in which, the mode in which organism can make its own food is autotrophic nutrition. Then what are these organisms known as? Organisms are known as autotrophs. What is the difference between autotrophic mode and autotrophs? Autotrophs are the organisms. Define autotrophs. Then how should your definition change? Organisms which are capable of making their food. Autotrophic nutrition defined the mode in which organisms can. Understanding, right? So, organisms, what are these organisms known as? Autotrophs. Clear? Second point is that they can utilize the substances in their surrounding. They can utilize substances in their surrounding and convert them into organic substance. Which is that organic substance? Glucose. Wherever they are, in the soil, in the water, terrestrial, wherever they are capable of converting the substances in their nature whatever substances they have in their nature, in their surrounding, convert them into some organic substance. And which is that organic substance? Majorly we are talking about glucose. Glucose. Autotrophic mode, different types are there. We'll go to that. Clear? Anything to ask here? Very elementary. This is very simple. I go to the other side. Heterotrophic. Are these organisms capable of preparing own food? No. So what should I write? The mode in which? The mode in which organisms feed on other organisms for food. This is heterotrophic. The second point I wrote, then these organisms are known as what? These organisms are known as heterotrophs. Heterotrophs. Heterotrophic mode and heterotrophs. So then what is heterotrophic mode of nutrition? The mode in which an organism has to feed in, take in food. And since they are taking in food, they are dependent on other organisms. So what is the second point I will write is, the second point that I will write parallel here is, are they capable of utilizing substances in their environment? No, they are not. They are not capable of utilizing substances, but they are dependent on other plants and animals. Dependent on other plants and animals for food. They are dependent on other plants and animals for food. Autotrophic, what did we write? Can convert substances in the environment to organic food. They cannot. Heterotrophic cannot. One more point we'll have to learn. But before that, let us write some examples. There's one more point to understand. Give me examples, heterotrophic. Give me examples, heterotrophic. Human and animals. Yes, the different type of animals. Other different type of animals. So instead of writing animals, you should give examples. Say, suppose human you write fishes, you write rodents. All these are examples of heterotrophs. This side, what should we write? Examples, majorly plants, some algae, and some bacteria. They can prepare food. So these are the two major differences. There's still one more. Can you tell me what? There is still one more. If I have to talk about autotrophic nutrition, I want to write down, this was A. I write this as A. So I have to write one more difference, which is very, very important to mention whenever I am talking about autotrophic and heterotrophic. Any idea what should that difference be? Autotrophic organisms, they contain what? Autotrophic organisms, they are capable of utilizing substances of the surrounding to make organic food. So definitely in their cell, they must be having some special substances. What is that special substance they have? What is it? Yes. Chlorophyll. You have studied no plant cells, animal cells. So now, if I am talking about autotrophic, I would say these group of organisms. These organisms contain what? These organisms possess. These organisms possess a pigment. And what is this pigment known as? This particular pigment is known as chlorophyll. And that's the reason they are able to do all this process. Then what do I write this side? No such pigment are present in such organisms. They don't have any special pigment. They do not possess any such pigment. They do not possess any such pigment which would allow them convert substances in their surrounding to something usable. No, they don't have. Clear all these 3 points? I said autotrophic and heterotrophic differences definitely you get in your paper someday or the other, always asked. Examples are asked, differences are asked. You should know the major 3 differences. Autotrophic nutrition, what is it? Autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition, method or a mode by which organism can make its own food. Try to use specific key terms. Synthesize, I use that word. Can synthesize their own food. Heterotrophic cannot. Second point, autotrophic organisms not dependent on any other organism. They can satisfactorily make their own food. But heterotrophic have to every time depend on other plants and animals. Third point, special pigment present in which group? Autotrophs. Chlorophyll. Heterotrophs, no such pigment ever present. They don't have any such pigment. Since we are talking about autotrophic again, little bit we have to just know the terms. We just have to know the terms. Now this difference is not too much in detail, just the terms. Heterotrophic we'll have to study in detail. Autotrophic not much. We are talking about the types of autotrophic. What are the types of autotrophic? Number 1, photoautotrophic. Photoautotrophic. What is the example of photoautotrophic? Plants. I talk about the second category, chemoautotrophic. What is the chemoautotrophic? Example would be a large number of the soil bacteria, nitrogen, sulfur bacteria, etc. So what is the difference you are understanding now? If it is photoautotrophic, the organism definitely is dependent on light, sunlight, for making its own food. Whatever substances it is utilizing, but definitely it is dependent on sunlight for making its food. Adequate amount of sunlight is a must. Are they dependent on sunlight? No. Whatever substances in their surrounding, they also can convert those substances into some glucose or organic food, but provided they have some special enzymes in them. Here they don't have. Chemoautotrophic, chemo from the word chemical substances, special chemical substances that the bacteria have in their cells. If those chemical substances the bacteria has, they can make their own food. They are absolutely not dependent on light. Clear now? These 2 concepts. So what are the 2 different types of autotrophic organisms? But these type of organisms are maximum. I would say in our planet almost about 90% organisms, 94-95% organisms are this. And a smaller fraction is this. But we cannot ignore because they are existing. So when we are saying yes, a large number of organisms are photoautotrophic, that is true. But when we are talking about chemoautotrophic, these type of organisms are also existing. So we definitely have to mention them also. What are the 2 types of autotrophic organisms? Photoautotrophic, chemoautotrophic. Now heterotrophic organisms, quite a number of types, many types. But as per our syllabus, we have to study only 3-4 types, not too many. Heterotrophic mode, when we study, there are so many types of heterotrophic mode of nutrition, but we have to go by the syllabus, so we study only 2-3 types. What are the types? Let us come across and with examples. Types of heterotrophic nutrition. The first one that I mentioned would be holozoic. Holozoic. Holozoic features are what? Let me give you examples first of all. Holozoic. See that? The examples are all contrasting. I'm talking about amoeba as an example. I'm talking about a parrot as an example. I'm talking about a fish as an example. I'm talking about human as an example. All of them are holozoic. The parrot, the fish, the duck, human, all are holozoic. Amoeba also included in the same category. How can we compare? How can human and amoeba be in the same category? Difficult, no? Amoeba is so simple and we humans so complex. How come we are in the same category? Because the mode of nutrition is same. Holozoic means what? Holozoic here means the first concept of Holozoic nutrition always is. What is the first concept of Holozoic nutrition? Two major points to understand here. Holozoic nutrition, what is the first concept? The first concept is the organism should be able to take in parts and pieces of the food inside the body. And point number 2 is the process of digestion should happen inside the body. Are you understanding? So if I say that what are some special features, Holozoic nutrition, what type of an organism will be considered Holozoic? Nothing to do with single celled or multi-cell. If the process is what? Then for Holozoic, organism should be able to take in parts, pieces, fragments of food inside the body. So the organism should be capable of taking in parts or pieces or fragments of the food, parts, pieces or fragments of the food inside the body. And digestion, where should the digestion happen? Digestion is always inside the body. Digestion is always inside the body. Digestion is always happening inside the body. It is not that the organism is already taking in digested nutrients. We will compare, then you will know. So what am I saying? Holozoic nutrition, is it clear? Are you understanding? Holozoic nutrition, think of a duck, a fish, takes in food in the undigested form, no? Parts, pieces. We take in the fruit or the vegetable cooked, but it is not digested, no? The food is already in some chunks and pieces. You take a bite of the bread and the bun and the pizza, etc. Is it in the simplest form? No, it is only in smaller bits broken down. You are taking that in, and the entire process of digestion has to happen inside your body. If that is what is happening, this is Holozoic. All these are organisms, Holozoic. Now compare. If this is Holozoic, then can you now tell me a difference? Can you now tell me a difference? In parasitic, what happens? From the host. So the parasite, let us write some examples first. Can you give me some examples? Parasites? Parasites? Flatworms? Tapeworms? And? Leeches. Okay, leeches. Now, what are these organisms doing? The flatworm in the intestine of the camel or the goat, for example. The flatworm in the intestine of the camel and the goat. What is how is the nutrition? Taking the nutrients directly from the blood of the organism. Is this flatworm or tapeworm digesting the nutrient on its own? Is the flatworm or the roundworm digesting? No. Remember how is the mode of nutrition here? This flatworm that I talk about, this flatworm remains in the intestine of the camel or the cattle, whichever example I may talk about. The flatworm is there, the tapeworm, or say suppose I talk about a roundworm. Let me take another category here. I take a roundworm, and roundworm in the intestine of human, and the leech attached to the skin of human or any other animal. Any other animal remain attached to them. Now, what is the difference happening? This is the parasite. This is the host. This parasite feeds on the nutrients. What are nutrients? I'll explain you in the beginning. What are chemical components? So this flatworm, when it is feeding on the nutrients from the blood of the camel's body, does it need to digest it further? No, it is already in the simplest form. Or I may also say, this flatworm does not actually have any digestive system. Yes, all these organisms, they don't have any digestive system, but they are surviving. How? They have methods by which they can take in already digested nutrients. So this is the host. This is the parasite. What about here? These roundworms, they remain in the intestine, wall of the intestine of the human for years, take in nutrients from the blood. Now that they are taking in nutrients from the blood, are they digesting the protein, carbohydrate, fat inside their body? No. So definitely they are not holozoic. They are not digesting it inside their body. They are not digesting, and depending on other organism, that is always a characteristic of parasitism. What is a characteristic? Even if in your exam they give you different type of pairs and to combine and different concepts to match up, always remember what are some characteristics of parasitism. Organism is not capable of digesting. None of them they have got any methods of digestion inside their body. But they are surviving. How? They take in nutrients digested directly from the body of the host, and they are surviving. You know, the leech attaches to the body of human, attaches to the skin of any other animal, big animal, elephants or goat or sheep or camel, any. Now that it remains attached, it can take in straight away blood, and from the blood, the nutrients absorb. So is the leech anyhow digesting the proteins and carbohydrates or etc.? No, it is not digesting. So the moment I understand a method of nutrition in which organism directly feeds on nutrients of the host body, that is what is known as parasitism, parasites. I've already given you some examples of parasites. What are some examples? Flatworms, roundworms, leeches, and there are so many more. We'll talk about one more method and then I'll give you one question to write. This definitely you know, saprophytic or saprotrophic. I think saprophytic only is there in your book. Saprophytic is there or saprotrophic is there? Saprophytic. Saprophytic, I'm sure all of you have come across this word. First of all, give me examples. Saprophytic, what should I write examples? Yeast. Mushrooms. So I would write examples like mushrooms, saprophytic. Yeast, not exactly. Mushrooms, I would write rhizopus. I would write mold and mucor. These are major examples of these. Rhizopus, mold, mucor. Did anybody see these examples? These organisms? Where? Bread. Rhizopus you have seen? No? Why are you lying? You have seen? Monsoon mein nahi dekha rhizopus? On the surfaces of the wood and the bags and the shoes and the belts. Monsoon mein nahi dekha? Leather items, in the month of September, after heavy rainfall, 2-3 months, when you take out your leather bags and shoes which you have been not using for almost 2 months, you get to see some white things are there. What is it? That is it. And the type of fungus that grows on the food items, citrus fruits and breads and stale food, that is all mold, mucor. Okay. So saprophytic, these are the examples. Are they digesting food? Again, no. So where are they surviving? They are surviving where I would say in the decomposing surfaces. They are surviving in the decomposing surfaces, decomposing food maybe now. Where the process of decomposition is happening, decomposing food, stale food, and the fungus growing. So this fungus, is it digesting the organic food? No, the organic food is already in the process of decomposition by the bacteria, broken down into simple forms, and those simple molecules it is absorbing and growing. So how do we define? Saprophytic, mode of nutrition in which organisms feed on dead and decomposing organic matter. Take a break, we'll continue.